Speaking of honeymoons ending, this Jonathan Majors. Wow. Ugh. There's so much about it, so you just be patient with me. I've been waiting to even talk about it because I wanted to learn as much as I could. I'm still missing stuff. Admittedly, I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to get this right. There's so much media around it. I don't even mean coverage. I mean actual there's a tape of him being recorded. There's CCTV of them. There's a lot going. There's body cam footage. There's a lot to distill. I felt like I was part of the jury. You know what I mean? I was like, damn, how do I stay impartial? All of this looks so bad. You know what I mean? Like, you take the CCTV alone. We don't know what happened in the car, but apparently in the car is when she scratched up his face and it's when he hurt her finger. All we see is a CCTV of him getting out the car and then her trying to get out the car, right? Because in this moment, she's discovered that he's cheating. All right? So now he's trying to get out of the car. She's trying to get out of the car. He picks her up and puts her back in the car like a toddler, right? Like he just sort of lifts her up and is like, there, right? And then this man took off. He ran. He ran like it was the full caution sign. That's the last time I've seen somebody have a foot that high and a head that forward. And my man was over here like, huh, like he just fully running. And that's how you can tell he cheated too, because he running like a cheater. He running like, no, I gotta get out of here. I can't be here right now. She saw a text message, yeah. And then she took off and she ran after him. And she caught up. And that shocked me. She caught up. This nigga trained for Creed 3, and she caught up in heels like it was nothing. That's crazy. I didn't know getting cheated on gave you superpowers, because this dude is booking it, and she right behind him, clickety-clacking it in those heels, trying to get that phone, right? And so then you just see another CCTV angle, and you see him running the other way. And this time, it's scarier, because this time, she not running. This time, she's stalking him like Jason, just... And she a little drunk, too, so she looked like she gonna fall. I'm like, he really doesn't need to run anymore, but clearly he did. She still caught up to him. This man ran his knees off, and she just over here... And then they run into like 3 random people, and then she did the thing that I think a lot of people do when they're in like the midst of like, maybe they're a little drunk, they just found out they got cheated on or something's going on in their relationship or something. So she meets these 3 people who don't know them, who do not, I cannot stress that enough, who do not seem to know them at all. And she's like, well, fuck you, I'm gonna hang out with my new friends. And then she just becomes these 3 people's problem. And then John Majors seemed to walk off, right? Seemed to just walk off into the night. So it's like that. Take that video alone, right? It's hard to decide how you feel about that, because in my mind, I'm just being honest, right? Just hear me out. In my mind, I don't know what else he should have done, because everything he should have done happened before that night. He shouldn't have cheated. If he didn't cheat, maybe none of this would have happened. But he cheated. I'm saying in the night in question, in this moment, he runs. He's out of cardio. Like, this is... Like, she clearly should have played Apollo Creed. If she tuckered him out that easy, then you go to the next day. Because the next day is when he finds her in the closet. Yeah. This dude comes home, and he finds her in the closet, and look, Jonathan Majors is too big and black to find any white woman. That's That's astounding. The fact that because now he's the one that called the cops. To my understanding, he's the one that called cops being like, hey, that's the only time I've seen someone call the cops, and you can hear it in his voice where he's like, I'm gonna need you to sit down. Before you send anybody, I need you to hear the full sentences I'm saying. Because this is gonna look bad, right? And then the cops come and then they lift her up and everything, and I someone can correct me, I don't know what happened in this particular part. It seems like she came home and she was like maybe changing or whatever and then fell asleep in the closet because it's like a walk-in closet. I don't really know what happened there. But then you hear Jonathan talk about it in an interview that he shouldn't have done. This interview was a bad idea. I'm not saying I would have any good ideas if I was him, but I'm just saying this interview was pretty bad because they ask him, how she sustained those injuries to her finger and all and stuff like that. And then Jonathan Majors says, I wish to God I knew. Nigga, you were there. Like, I know you don't think you did it, but like, whatever. So then in the interview, they're cutting between his interview and then pieces about him. They're using scenes from him in movies. And then they use a recording where he is arguing with her, right? And this is a big thing for me. This is a huge thing. And I hope it doesn't spill out into the rest of the world because a lot of celebrities do it. And I pray that we don't get to the point where we're doing it. If you need to secretly record anyone you are dating, break up with them. Please. Because this is my thing. Say what you want about her, say what you want about him. They clearly had a toxic dynamic. They had a bad dynamic from what seems like the start, right? And so for her to be recording him secretly means that she knows something's up with him. So leave, leave. And I'm not saying leave as if it's easy. I'm not saying leave as in you should just always feel safe to leave. I'm just saying you need to start coming up with an exit strategy because then the recording is one of the worst recordings. It feels like right out of Law and Order, the recording. The recording is so damn bad. Okay, so basically, I don't really know the context of the recording. It sounds like from the recording that she came home drunk or she was acting up drunk or something like that, which apparently in their dynamic she had been known to do, right? So there's some, I don't even know if this is true, that maybe this is hearsay, but there was some instance where out of nowhere, one of the reasons a lot of people told him to break up with her is that she was drunk at a party one time. They had some sort of argument and she hauled off and slapped him in front of everybody, right? In front of everybody at the party and like a real like telegraphed the whole shit. I couldn't believe he got hit. I was like, all that Creed 3 and you don't know how to box? You over here just eating shots? That's crazy. That's boxing 101. Somebody does this, you do this. I'm not even a fighter and I know that. I'm just saying, she, whatever. I don't know what actually happened. All I know is the recording starts with him being like, listen, I'm doing a lot right now. I'm doing a lot for my people. I'm doing a lot for the culture. I am a great man. Give me a second. I think I can honestly say in a lot of relationships I've watched, especially like just straight relationships, there's a point where a guy feels, not even saying it's right, underappreciated for being maybe even a good boyfriend or good husband, right? And they will say something to try to stick up for how they feel in the moment. They'll be like, look, I'm a great guy. Most guys aren't like me out there. They'll say something to try to save it. And in the moment, it always doesn't. It never sounds the way it's like in your head. it sounds like it's evening the playing field. Like, in your head, you're like, I can't believe you're coming down on me so hard. I'm a good boyfriend. I'm a great boyfriend. You know that? I'm such a good boyfriend. Your friends say I'm a great boyfriend to you when they don't think I can hear it, and I hear it, and I take that to the moon, and I'm using it now. That's what it sounds like in our head. What it sounds like out loud when you're in the middle of an argument is, I'm a great man. The fact that he actually said, I am a great man. And look, I don't know what it's like to date either one of them. I'm just going off of what we've seen and what I've seen that has happened, right? I don't know what it's like to date either one. I'm just saying, I can see how you're in the moment and you really think you're cooking. But it should be a sign to you that the person that you're like just going off on is saying nothing. And look, if I'm being honest with you, when I listen to that recording, I do think it's a little bit of a setup because she says nothing, right? And you can tell she a little drunk too, because the only thing you can hear is like him being like, I'm a great man, and her being like, you know what I mean? Like if you listen real close, you can hear a couple hiccups. I'm not saying that gives him the right to be over here. I'm a great man, you know, like. And look, to be fair, maybe she was just recording him because he kept telling her to be like Coretta, and she had no fucking idea what that meant. She's like, I'm a white woman that was born in the UK. I don't know how to connect these two things. Be more like Coretta. And then in the interview, he's like, look, when I said that, I wasn't comparing myself to Dr. King. I was just trying to say that these are the people I aspire to be. And so if I'm gonna get there, I need someone like her to help me get there. And I'm like, all right, but you did say Coretta. Like, you know what I mean? It'd be different if he was just like, I need you to do better. I need you to do better sounds, outside looking in, sounds completely fair. I need you to do better. I need you to do better than getting drunk at functions that I'm with that I'm trying to network. I need you to do better than slapping me in my face in front of a bunch of people. I just need you to do better. There's a huge amount of middle ground. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it would be like my girlfriend being like, listen, you do not help enough around the house. I get that you tour, I get that you have shows at night, but I need your help around the house, all right? So when you're about to go, just take the trash out with you. That's a simple thing that you can do. Just take the trash out with you. Just do a little better. She didn't say, I need you to be Malcolm X. Do you see the difference? It's also just, I don't know. That the thing that really bothers me about Jonathan Majors is that he didn't make it. He made it. All this happened after he made it. And it's so hard. And like even take away for a second being a black actor. Take away for a second where he comes from. It's hard in general. This is like the NFL of drama. And he made it. And then this happens, you know? And he has nobody to blame but himself. Just like it's a lesson to all of us. If there's something that you want more than anything else, you cannot let other things get in the way of that thing, especially when they don't bring you anything good, you know? And some people made it purely about race. I don't think that Jonathan Majors is a lesson that you need to date within your own race. I think he's a lesson you need to date within your own weight class, because the optics are terrible, all right? Jonathan Majors is 34 years old. Jonathan Majors is 34. That blew my mind. He's 34. We're closer in age than I ever thought. He's 34. And he doesn't look 34. That man looked 46 from 1958. Every time I see Jonathan Majors, I'm like, he should be in sepia tone. Like, and people, and look, I want to be clear for a second. A lot of people had a weird, and I'm talking about outside of all this stuff before any of it ever happened. A lot of people had a weird hate for him that I didn't understand, and they went out of their way to call him ugly, and they went out of their way to just like go with his features and stuff like that. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying he does look like a time traveler, all right? Like, if he told me he knew Dr. King personally and that he had a time machine, I'd be like, no wonder you want everybody to be like a Coretta. You know her so well.
York, Pennsylvania. Please make it loud for Josh Johnson!
I've thought a lot this week about how, family can be chosen. Like, you have your family, you have your family, your people you grow up with and everything. But along the way, you find people who you really connect with. You choose them and they choose you and everything. Because the family that you're born into, I'm not saying there isn't massive value in making everything work with your family that you possibly can. I'm just saying that, like, sometimes look, they're your first crack at, like, relationships. Do you know what I mean? Like with most people, especially with the big family, if you line them up together, you'd be like, all right, if y'all didn't already know each other, I'm not sure you'd be hanging out. Like, I got cousins that I love dearly, but, like, I don't know. They're like athletic. And then I show up with a Rubik's Cube, but they're like, very cool, very cool. Now, you can tell somebody's not into what you're into when they talk to you all slow like that. When they're like, that's awesome, bud. That is fantastic. I like that you are into that. Wow. Oh, I've been hit with wows in my life. Sometimes you get someone that even if you weren't related, if y'all had met, you would have linked up perfect, like understand each other. That real bond, right? And you have the benefit of actually being family, so you get even more time with this person. Like, I look at, tell you about Nikki. Nikki was a kid back down south. Very, very big kid, but not like big, just tall. I say big, but I mean tall. He was too tall. He was too tall of a person. It was too much. It was like cartoonishly tall. He was that type of tall where everybody asked him if he played basketball. You know that? You know, that type of like, I mean, you're just so, do you just love playing basketball? As if it's a requirement to stay that tall. That you guys start putting in hoop time if you're gonna stay this tall. It's such a funny question. I've never been asked if I play basketball for my height. It's just such a funny question because I can imagine what's going through the mind of a tall person when they're getting that question because it's such a thirsty question from a short person. They're like, do you play? You must. Like you have to. Like you need this. I need this. I need you to play. Why can't just do it? I feel like that desperation is because you know that they could touch it. It's like you could touch the rim so easy. You have to touch it for both of us. You have to play. I don't know what the rim feels like. Just please play. I need this. But Nicky was Nicky was tall, but he was as tall as he was clumsy. He was that type of person you would ask to grab something from the top shelf for you, and then as he's grabbing it, you know, he's got the height, but he didn't have the grip. So he really just knocks something down off onto your head. You about to thank him too. You looking up. Thank you so much. And so him playing basketball was a disaster. He was very clumsy. And it was insane to watch. Like, I give him a little bit of grace because, like, when he would dribble, the ball did take too long to get back. Like, that's not all his fault. When I dribble, I'm right here. It's a frequent visitor, right? But when he would dribble, it'd just take forever to come back up, and by then he had already run away. Like, he could do that thing, though. He could do that thing where he could palm the ball. That was wild to watch. Just watch him grab the ball and hold it up like, look like a magic trick of being tall. And he was always getting, like, truly just, like, smoked on the court. Like, even his handles were terrible. You know, he tried to put it through his leg. It would hit his elbow on the other side. Never knew how much pressure to apply to the dribble. So instead of being over here, one, he's over here watching it fly away. And there was one day, I don't know what got into him, but there was one day he was making a drive for that net. You know, he wanted to, I guess, show off for somebody. And so he's running down the court, clearly traveling. There's no way he was ever gonna. And he's over here with, you know, got both hands on the ball, got the elbow out when people get close, you know, the weapons. And then this dude jumps for a dunk. He goes to dunk, and on top of being uncoordinated, on top of being a true waste of height, this young man has no strength in his ankles or calves. So when he jumps for the dunk and he flies forward, there's someone guarding him. And I think even that guy thought he was gonna fly over. Cause look, he didn't do a simple like jump up, you know, efficient dunk. He fully leg spread NBA logo. The problem is he's either pushed or made everybody else get out of the way up until this last person, this guy trying to finish just standing there, right? And because he got no air, because he jumped the height of his own shins, he simply flies into this man. He jumped into him. I've never seen a person jump into another person. Like he jumped into him like he thought he would go through and it like he thought he would be him. He jumps. This guy's got his arms out and he jumped into him like it was the end of a war. Like they were finally reunited. This man, holding the ball in the air, just jumps forward. Flies into this dude. And never in the history of street ball, I don't think anyone's ever seen anything happen like this. This man probably expected Nicky to fly over him. But when he just sort of kept coming forward at the height, basically the height he was already at, but with his legs spread. Never in the history of basketball on a public court has this happened. He flew in just trying to dunk, and then this man caught him. I need to show you then. He caught him. Caught him into his arms. Didn't fall backwards or anything, just straight up caught him because Nicky started jumping too far away, so he didn't have the momentum to knock somebody down. And then Nicky, this fool, still dunked. Still dunks. And then had the nerve to let go of the rim. Putting all his weight back into this man's arms. Craziest part about it, he was still talking trash the whole time. He's still being held midair, talking crazy to everybody on the court. This man is up here. That's right, this is my house. Y'all get out the kitchen because I'm cooking right now. Can't nobody touch me. Sir, someone is touching you right now. So uncomfortable. And you know, Nicky was tall, he wasn't big or anything, but he was big enough to recognize that he was bigger than the people around him. And so he was somebody who truly fit that stereotype of like gentle giant, like didn't want to hurt anybody, didn't want to mess with anybody. In fact, his need to be gentle actually made him pretty easy to bully. Kids that were way smaller than him would give him a hard time, you know? And there was I'm sure, a bit of a fear taken up for himself because, you know, he didn't know what could happen. And so Nicky, very sweet, very easy to bully. You didn't have to worry about Nicky. You had to worry about his sister. His sister, first of all, his sister, not tall at all. Nicky got all the height in the family. But his sister would see somebody messing with Nicky, and she would come out of nowhere. Truly nowhere. There was this one time that this kid was pushing Nicky around, right? And then finally, Nicky had enough, and he pushed this other kid back, right? But then that kid, you know, when somebody's bigger than you, you figure they can take whatever. This kid runs back up, pushes him down as hard as he can. Nicky falls to the ground. We don't know where his sister came from. We don't know where she just came running. I need to be clear how we didn't know where she came from because she didn't go to the same school. So when did you start running? Running. Then jumps in the air. We all give credit for that Sparta kick to the movie 300. But I had seen it years before. She got a running start, it jumped up in the air, and then foot first walked up this kid. Remember the movie Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, where they just sort of kick, and they never came down? Yeah. Oh. It is tough when you move out on your own for the first time and you're broke, but you're also young. Like, I had the benefit of being young and broke, so I didn't even realize how broke I was. I wasn't even aware it could not be like this. Because, you know, there's a different mindset. I can only speak for myself, but it seems like there was just a different mindset at the time for the sort of standards of my mom's house versus like what mine would be, because I was out on my own for the first time, so I was sort of setting them in real time, like setting these parameters. When you're out by yourself for the first time and you get your first place, this little studio apartment in Chicago, it's like anything. You could do anything, you know? You could put up both Fight Club posters. You could do whatever. You could get the main one and the variant right next to it. There's nobody to stop you. You know, I had an air mattress and everything. Just starting out, and so there are some things that I think other people would have clicked right away. We should do something about it. It just didn't happen for me. Not in my head right away. Like, for instance, when I would have somebody over and my fridge worked, but it didn't work hard. Like, my fridge would do the fridge things, but just not all the things a fridge is supposed to do. I'd have somebody over, and then I'd offer them something to drink. I'd grab them something to drink, and I knew the cold spots of the fridge because the whole fridge wasn't cold, right? There were some, like the crisper was crispy. The crisper was perfect. Anything you really wanted to keep, you put in the crisper. But other stuff, you just had to be like, well, that's just a regular shelf. That's basically a cabinet shelf. And so I remember there was this one time that invited somebody over, poured them a drink, and then they asked for some ice, and I was like, okay. So my freezer doesn't make ice, like it doesn't. And what I meant was, like, my freezer didn't get cold. Like my freezer was actually hot. Like, I don't know what coil was switched, but the top was hot. A regular fridge was fridge, but this over here was basically a microwave. And so I was like, oh yeah, it doesn't make ice in there. And they were like, oh, okay, well, do you have an ice tray? Let's just pour some water. Well, I don't mind waiting. And I was like, oh, you thought I meant I didn't have an ice maker. Okay, so what I'm saying is that like it won't exist in there. Like, it's too hot. Like, that's why I don't have anything but bread in there, because it's very warm. And they weren't being rude, but they just sort of said it, I guess, as they were thinking it. They were like, you can't afford ice? And when somebody points something out to you like that, it does remind you where you are when you can't afford just certain temperatures. That's a level of broke That's a breakthrough of broke, to not be able to afford enough coal near you. And so when you're in a situation like that, just like when I was on my own and was sort of getting my bearings around being out in the world and what things I needed to fix first, because I still need a bed. I finally got a bed. And when I got that bed, okay, first of all, got the bed off Craigslist, so don't. The frame. I say whole bed as if it's a whole bed because, you know, if you just got a mattress on the floor, that's a mattress on the floor. You can't call that a bed. So I got my bed frame off Craigslist and then, you know, bought a mattress and everything. That took some saving. For a little while, the air mattress was on the bed frame. Because if you did look too fast, it looked regular. But that bed frame, man, no wonder they were getting rid of it. Every time you sat down, you felt like you were hurting it. The entire time I had that bed frame, I'd be in my head thinking like, why does my bed's back hurt so much? And every creak is just, it just sounds like you don't have your life together. You sit down after a long day of work and you hear, how am I gonna get any restful sleep with you complaining the entire night? I'd move my leg and the bed would do everything except scream. But when you're in a situation like that, and let's say you're even younger, let's say you're like Nikki and his sister, especially in the neighborhood that they were in. There's a lot of things coming at you, maybe faster than you know how to process. You know, you're in a neighborhood where there's gangs, where there's gang violence, and obviously after the fact, people ask themselves, why would anybody join a gang? You know, why would anybody get involved? And it's a question that's more important to ask before anything happens. You know, after these decisions have been made, it's very easy to just be flippant about it. Why would anybody? Maybe this is somebody who's been beat up their entire life. The only time they don't get beat up is when they're with these people. For better or for worse, you know? Maybe these people aren't the best to have around, but at least I'm somewhat safe. It's a different type of danger hanging out with them. There's a present danger I know by being alone. You know? Maybe there's some sense of, this is the only way I'm gonna be able to make some money. These guys already know a way. These guys always have money on them. You know, there's a false perception that maybe this is the way. You know, they put a gun in your hand. I'm sure you feel powerful. They tell you run the block. I'm sure you feel powerful. It's not until something actually stops you that you realize you're not all powerful. Like you look at a kid like Nikki, and you know, it's not it's not like it is in the TV shows all the time, where there's just somebody seeking out, oh, that guy looks cool, I'll follow him around, maybe he'll let me join or something. Some people are coerced, some people are threatened. You know? You live here, you see us doing work, maybe it's time for you to do some work. They recruit them. That's the thing that people leave out. They recruit them. You know? And so maybe a kid like Nikki sees, though, this isn't it. I don't know what is, but this can't do this. So then a kid who almost never takes up for himself. A kid who's very gentle, although he's very tall. Waste of tall. Not using the tall right at all, but that's beside the point. A kid like Nikki gets approached, tells them, no, I'm good. I don't want to do that. I just live here. I'm not. And then it's his sister of all people. It's his sister that also looks him in the face. Don't talk to my brother. You leave him alone. Right? Don't come near him. And when you're dealing with a gang, you're not dealing with a lot of reason behind decisions. But this kid who's known for being soft, telling you no like that to your face, and his sister backing him right up every time she sees you all around him, that won't do. You tell them no even after they start messing with you. And then it's someone like your sister that takes up for you. It's someone like your sister that tells them to their face, not as big as you, not as scary. You leave my brother alone. It takes a lot of bravery to do something like that. You leave my brother alone, knowing how dangerous they are. And then, maybe, one day, they decide to send some sort of message, right? And they pass your house, and they shoot at your house. But you're not home. Your sister's home, though. And those bullets that may have even been meant for you, whether they were meant to send a message or they were meant for you, they don't hit you. You're not there. They hit your sister. They took your sister. Do you see how a gang works? They'll take everything that they can as long as you let them. They'll do whatever they like as long as they feel like nobody can stop them.
Amen.
You know? I'll back up real quick. Being out on your own and broke, you have to decide what professionals you're going to spend your money on, because all the professionals you can't afford. So sometimes you got to go to a professional who says they're professional and doesn't feel very professional. Like, for instance, I require some things from a professional. Like, some of it may have nothing to do with their capabilities at their job. They're just things that make me uncomfortable. Like, I don't like when my professionals in some fields take cash. That makes me nervous. If you go to the doctor and you get done and they don't ask you about insurance or anything, they're like, all right, it's gonna be $250, so you can do 10s and 5s. I could break 100 if you need change. Some things you just want to have taken care of ahead of time so you can just enjoy the experience of being in the presence of a professional. I don't want my pilot to take cash. What if I don't have cash on me? Even like the nonverbals sometimes. Sometimes a professional will let their feelings escape, right? They won't be very professional. Just let it out as it happens. That is very jarring. It's terrifying. I don't ever want that to happen. Imagine you in court. You're in court, and then prosecutor says something, and then your lawyer turns to you and goes, "What's wrong with you? Everybody heard that. You couldn't keep that in?" No, because you know what it is whenever people, they're supposed to be professional, emote like that, it lets you know that they also don't know what's supposed to happen. Now we're living in chaos. GIB, if the people who are supposed to know don't know, if the people who were supposed to act some sort of way don't know how to act that way, now we're in chaos. Like now we're in chaos. Like now we're in chaos. And I remember one of the earlier times I felt like this was with my dad. I was in the car with my dad, and we got a flat tire. And he went to the trunk, grabbed the spare, changed the tire, and then the car wouldn't start. I'm not saying at 7 years old I knew how to change a tire. I was just confused why, after changing this tire, the car as a whole gave up. The car that was running before, and then you changed the tire. Here's the thing, I'm not a mechanic, not an engineer, but I look at tires like shoes. And if somebody's shoe fell off or wore down to the point they needed another shoe, and then you gave them that shoe, and then they were like, oh, I don't walk anymore. I think you would be confused. I think it's fair that I was confused. I was like, all the wheels good. Maybe try it again. He's over here. Nothing. You know. So then he had to go into a store, find a phone, because this is, you know, I'm like a 90s baby. I didn't have a cell phone for a long time. My dad didn't have a cell phone for a while. He had to go into a store and ask to use their phone to make a very embarrassing phone call. To call whoever he called to be like, yeah, I changed the tire. And now my car doesn't want to be a car anymore. And I remember I asked him, like, what are we gonna do, Dad? And in a moment of honesty, because to be fair, your parents are your parents. They're not professionals. They should be allowed to be human, you know? But I asked him, what are you gonna do, Dad? And he was like, I don't know, son. And I know I was little, but even looking back, I had too strong of a reaction. I was like, you don't know! That was a little too much. But in my mind, in my like little bit of life experience, I was like, uh-oh, we are stranded here then. What do you mean you don't know? And then someone came and they gave my dad a jump. Now, this is the first one I had ever seen. And once again, me being a kid, I didn't say it out loud, but in my head, I was like, that's not gonna work. Y'all just doing stuff now, like this. Oh, you're gonna put the wire in the wire and And then it did work. And when it worked, to my credit, I was like, man, my dad's a genius. Who would even thought? You just wire up to another car and it'll be a car again. But yeah, that feels like where we are. Where, do you know what I mean? Where there are people that are supposed to know, who even say that they know, but when they start telling you what they know, you realize they don't know anything. And that's very scary. That's terrifying. Sometimes I don't even know what press conference I'm watching and what it's about. I watched this, there was a press conference where there was a press conference where Marco Rubio wrote something down and slid it to Trump. And like, I don't know, man, I've never seen somebody so locked in to being evil and so checked out of life. Because this dude gets slid the note, and then there's no way Trump has an internal monologue. We must know every thought that comes through his head. Because Marco Rubio went ahead and passed him the note, and then he says out loud, you know, okay, do you remember in English class when your teacher made you like read Shakespeare, but then somebody in the class had to also read the stage direction just so everybody would know where we were at? Things that should clearly be in his head get spoken out loud. This dude gets slid the note and then says out loud, Marco Rubio just passed me a note. You gotta watch the video from the specific angle I'm talking about, because it exists. I saw it when it happened, but the other angle that's like centered on Trump doesn't do it justice. There's an angle that's like to the right of Trump, there's a camera, and you see where Trump says Marco Rubio just passed me a note, you see Marco Rubio go, and then Trump reads the note out loud for everyone. And that's, once again, maybe something he meant to do in his head and his mouth never stopped. Because then he's like, it says Chevron. Go back to Chevron. He read the note out loud at a press conference, I'm assuming, where they're talking about oil, and doesn't seem to know what this note means. Go back to go back to Chevron. All right. I'm surprised he didn't just keep talking. Like, go back to Chevron. Oh, I've never worked there. Interesting. Okay. Like, he so clearly did everything that should have been in his head. I'm surprised this man didn't grab the note. Marco Rubio just passed me a note, bend arm. It says, go back to Chevron. What does that mean, turnhead? And look, I don't even know if this is the same press conference because this is a different clip. There was a point where where I don't know if Trump was talking or somebody else was talking or if he was being asked a question, but he just got up from the table and looked out the door. This man over just, yeah, you know. Wow. That's gonna be the entrance to the ballroom. Sir, if you don't sit your Biden-built brain down, this is everything you said about Biden. Everything you doing right now. Every ounce of it was supposed to be what Joe Biden was like. This man tried to bully Joe Biden the entire campaign with the fact that the auto pen, you know the auto pen, the famous auto pen, he doesn't know what's going on. Somebody else is running the White House. It's like, all right, look, for all of his faults, Biden was never passed a note. He was never passed a note. It was like, Vice President Harris just passed me a note. No. No, it's insanity. No, it's so wild. Especially because we're how it all just feels especially insane that how this dementia is affecting all of us. Do you know what I mean? Like I've had people in my life that I love dearly have dementia, and it affected the family, not the country. Not, you know what I mean? Like it, if your great uncle starts grabbing the remote control for the TV and pressing buttons and putting it to his ear, that doesn't affect Greenland. You know? It's just, I don't know. Sometimes you just want to get the message out. Thank God the internet, for now at least, is like viewable by people from other countries that aren't near, because they can see us also be like, no, every day we wake up, and if you have a smartphone, you probably have your notifications on. Which is not, it's maybe wait. The stuff will be there eventually. You shouldn't wake up to the news. Give yourself a minute. Do you know what I mean? Because like you wake up and then you open your phone and there's all the headlines because the publications were working while you were sleeping, and they have a list ready to go of things to give you Marco Rubio face. There's a big flaw we have now in that the news by headline is like in your phone. It just hits your phone like that. You gotta turn your notifications off sometimes just for the sake of your mind, because you know I was checking the time. I just wanted to know the time, and now, Well, oh no, I was gonna travel. Looks like we're not friends with anybody anymore. It's devastating. You know? And then you see things like you see what happened in Minneapolis. Yeah. You see everything that happened, and it is it's sad and fascinating that no matter how many angles come out, no matter what people are watching, no one's really changing their position. And I think one of the main reasons is that there are many people that are trying to argue the legality, and everyone else is trying to argue the morality, you know? We're not speaking the same language about these things, which is one of the main reasons we're not getting anywhere. And I think that, look, if your entire moral compass is based on what the laws are currently at the time, I think that's a very weak compass, because all of the good that has ever come to this country and to people in general was through change. It was through adjustment. It was through figuring out what met the moment the best, you know? There's no, to me at least, there's very little good in just saying, well, that is the way it is. No. It's like, that's not enough. Every benefit to your life, every single benefit to your life came through some sort of change. The powers that be weren't just waking up one day and then thinking, oh, well, we probably should do a little better. Sadly, that's not how that sort of like arc of justice bends. It usually bends with pressure, you know? Trust me when I tell you that J.D. Rockefeller or, you know, Carnegie, any of these robber barons, they weren't laid up at night figuring out how to start a union. You know? All these things come with time. You know, you can make whatever legal argument you want to make. That is not what people are not arguing for some sort of like Section 3, Article 5 of some. They saw the video. You saw the video. And I personally think one of the reasons to argue the legality or to make the status quo your moral compass is because you're either not affected or you think that if you play ball, it won't come for you. It won't affect you, you know? And that's just not the case. Now we are where we are because they needed something. They passed this bill that is going to really devastate a lot of people. Yes. You know what I mean? They passed it a while ago and they're hoping you don't remember. In fact, they're looking for something. They need something new. It can't be the old stuff because they said they fixed all the old stuff, right? So they need something new. You know, they passed this bill that lets AI companies off the hook, that rolls back a bunch of environmental protections, that slashes your health care, and they need something new, which is why they landed on Somali daycare fraud. No, you know Somali daycare fraud, the most lucrative fraud of all time. It is the fraud that... It's honestly the fraud that the world turns on the axis of. It is the most prevalent fraud that has ever existed. If only Walter White had known about Somali daycare fraud, it would have been a very different show. No, they need something new because they're hoping that you'll forget that they can't actually, and they don't have plans to, and the things that it would take, they're not willing to do to improve your life. They're not going to do it, you know? They're all in the same pool, so they're not going to tax their friends, you know? So what can they do? Well, they can't improve your life. They can't do it, but they can make everybody else's life miserable. Like they could make everyone else's life worse, and then that's equality. Yeah. It's like when you're it's like when you're dating somebody that sucks, and then they are like, yeah, but other people suck too. You'll sit them down and tell them everything that you feel like they are doing wrong in the relationship, and they're like, everybody does that though. Like if it's not me, it's just gonna be somebody else forgetting your birthday. That's gonna happen. Because you see what happened, and you see how panicked they genuinely were. You know, they sent these guys out. I hate to burst anyone's bubble, but as a country, we are like broke. You know what I mean? We are like, because their bill also adds to the deficit. And we're very broke. And not the government, I should be clear. The people. Like the people. I know people think it's the same thing. But people from other countries, just so you know, it's not the same thing. The country, as in the government, is doing fine. They just found a bunch of oil. It's the people. It's the people who are struggling. It's the people whose groceries prices and whose healthcare costs are skyrocketing. It's the people who have less to show for the work that they do, and it's the people losing their jobs, getting their government jobs slashed and getting let go from companies and everything. And so they need something. We can't afford, in the bill, $29 billion for ICE. We cannot afford ICE any more than I could afford ICE. I can't believe $29 billion. I mean, but this is my thing, I guess, is that you watch something like what's happening in Minneapolis, because it's not just one instance, it's not just one thing, you know? Because the same day that Renee Good lost her life, a high school in Minneapolis was pretty much just attacked by ICE, like pepper spray. They pepper sprayed kids, you know? You look at what happened in Chicago. They pulled kids out. They pulled all these people out of this building. It was just a show of force. It doesn't look like there were really any convictions out of that. It was pure harassment, you know? People talk about comply. People talk about what is legal, but really think about what's moral, you know? I'll tell you right now, if you just sort of go with the flow, you go with the status quo, you just simply comply over and over again, you know, nothing really changes. Not a single thing. Because once again, the people who have everything don't really think about breaking you off a piece. That's just not how it works, you know? They weren't up at night figuring out, oh, you know, maybe a minimum wage would be good. You know? I'll tell you right now, if all you do is comply, if all you do is hope that things change or get better, but you go along with everything as it stands, it doesn't happen. If everyone that came before me had just complied and complied and complied, then I probably would have entered this theater, any theater, through a colored section. You know, every good thing you have in your life is a product of someone else's struggle. You know? You see everything that's happening. And it's not about what they say it's about. You know? People talk about coming over the right way, doing it the right way and everything. Meanwhile, the people that say that don't even actually know what the right way is. Not top to bottom. The people trying to do it know. But they don't even understand the significance of yanking people out of a hearing that's their immigration hearing that they showed up to do it the right way. You know? You're just jamming people up for the sake of doing it. Now, be clear here. It is not about Somali daycare fraud. Even the narrative building, even what happens next. Then the president makes a statement. There's no way he saw the video. And I'm not even saying that because I think that there's some like moral core to. I'm saying that because what he said, he was like, this officer was run over. He's lucky to be alive. She ran right over him. I mean, he basically exploded. And he had the wherewithal to put himself back together again. Reconstitute his body. Amazing stuff. No, you see how they paint this person immediately. You know, they need their narrative more than anything, because if the narrative falls apart, then everything is exposed. And if it's all exposed, you start to blame who's worth blaming. It's never been more important to know all of your rights, to know all of them. And you know, it's never been more important to know the difference between a judicial warrant and an ICE warrant. Like, a judicial warrant is something signed by a judge, and the judge signs it, and it means they can come in. Because the judge wrote that we need to go get you. And a lot of times when they have a judicial warrant, they don't even knock. They just sort of come in. It's not really up for discussion. An ICE warrant is a thing that ICE wrote that they may show you, and it may even be part of narratives that happen for the future where, well, they had a warrant. Which warrant? It's important to know, because ICE having a warrant is like me writing myself a sick note. You know what I mean? I've done it many times. I've had to write my own doctor's note many times. And every time I gotta write my own doctor's note, the story, I do too much. The story's like unbelievable. Like usually a doctor's note is like 2 sentences because doctors don't even want to do it, but sometimes employers or schools require it. But then I would be doing, oh man, I'd be doing too much. I'd be like, oh, what a brave boy. I can't believe he's making it through, you know? Don't just go easy on him. Applaud him for his courage. It's very important that you understand what's happening and what could happen next as a result of it. So often, our lawmakers and even some of us with the best of intentions address things as they happen. We don't cut them off ahead of time. Like I watch the things that happen with ICE, and they're not cops. They're these federal agents that are there to kidnap and disappear people. That is the point. It's the entire reason that Renee Good isn't with us. And it is more than fitting that these people, that this administration would be the enemy of good. Like, you're watching it happen. And there's a sort of like collective trauma around it. Because it's just happening over and over again. It happens every time that you watch it. And I don't know, it reminds me that it's important to choose as much family as you can. You choose to protect your family. Choose to protect people that when you were born you had no relation to, but you found each other. There's nothing more important. Because when they didn't see Nikki the first time, they went ahead, spin the block, let's go back around, shot through. They do the same thing to us. They do the same thing to us all the time. You know, several years removed, but not a mile away from where George Floyd died. And what happened then? We marched, we protested, we begged, worked as much as we could for some sort of change, and then several years later, they spin the block, right? They took, and they'll take as much as they can, they'll take as much as you let them. And look, there are people, right? There are people who will never see your side of things. There are people who are not working for you. They work for whatever corporation funds them. They work for whatever lobbyist gives them the most money. But the people that you vote for, the people that you put in power, it is important now more than ever that you stay on their neck. You stay on them. Because when things like this happen and there's this sort of like rhetoric around, you see how people feel one way or the other, and you see politicians try to do their spin. Obviously, there's a way that we expect everybody to fall, but it's important to remember that usually ICE funding is bipartisan. So you only control the people that you vote for, but you got to stay on them. You never let up. Being a public official should be a headache. You know, I genuinely, it depends on who it is, but I usually hate to see him smile. I'm like, why are you having a good day? Because you wonder, you see these videos of people just going about their life or trying to do the right thing, being violently met by ICE agents. There's always a narrative to fall back on later, even when the narrative is a lie, even when it gets disproven. There's always some sort of narrative to fall back on. And it makes you wonder, why would anybody even join up? Why would anybody join this thing? And then you see, it's like, okay, economically tough times, signing bonus, maybe I've been picked on my entire life and now I get a gun, maybe. They tell me that I run this area, I can go wherever I want, I can do whatever I want, finally have some power, and you see what they do with it. You watch what happened. And it's important to remember that you can choose family. You know? You can choose the people that you stick your neck out for. You can choose the people that you protect that mean as much to you as your own life. You can choose people. And it's important to keep making those choices daily. The stronger you make those choices, the stronger the bond is, the less that they have. Because remember, it's not as if ISIS is some sort of army or something. They actually have wildly low numbers. That's why they need the police to come back them up everywhere they go. That's why all it takes is being pelted with snowballs and they leave. It was snowballs. It was snowballs in Minnesota. It was snowballs in Minnesota is basically the weather conditions. So that's And so when you watch what happened, it's important that we as people take it upon ourselves as best as we can. As much as we can sacrifice, because everybody can't take on the same amount of burden. I understand that, but as much as you can do, you do it and you make a better world. That's the way forward, you know? This was not the first ICE-related shooting. This was not the first ICE-related death. And it's not just gonna go away. I think about those kids that are left behind now and how it's important that they be chosen as family to take them in. Because you watch that video, you watch everything that happened. You can watch people litigate all they want. But once again, you're talking about people who are arguing for the legality versus people who are arguing the morality, you know? They did what they did because they knew that they could. You know what I mean? And it's important that people left behind, like that child, those children, they become our responsibility. Because make no mistake, they took our sister. Do you see how a gang works?
Mira,